I would like to ask how many of you are actually using TypeScript already? Well, quite a lot. And I'm not sure how many of you actually combining Redux with TypeScript. I guess very few, because maybe you're using TypeScript for other purposes, Node.js, or maybe you're using Redux, or but with JavaScript. So let me briefly talk about TypeScript. So the slogan of TypeScript is JavaScript that scales. Maybe in the internet, you can find out that many people hate JavaScript. When you say JavaScript, oh no, no JavaScript. Well, really, JavaScript, I believe when it is invented, it is not supposed to be having a big application built on top of it. I don't think the author will imagine there will be Node.js, there will be React, Vue, Webpack, things like that. So that's why TypeScript actually come into the game that it helps JavaScript to make it scale. And how can it make it? It converts or it helps JavaScript to become a statically typed superset. And the most important thing is that it's also compiled back to plain JavaScript. So that's why if you really have to use TypeScript, you don't have to worry about the compatibilities. You can still use your TypeScript, use TypeScript to build your React programming and then deploy it using server-side rendering, deploy it to your IE6 browser, something like that. Of course, any browser, any host, any OS. It is not limited to just Windows. You can use it on Mac or Linux, whatever platform. So let me show you some code. If you have some experience in JavaScript, I'm pretty sure most of you does. It's only the different thing is that you put types in this parameter. You put types to variables. If you were a Fresh programmer, I'm not sure how many of you still remember Fresh, ActionScript, stuff like that. They actually share similar syntax. They use a colon and then define a type after the variable. And the good thing is that if you write some code like this, well, previously it is a string, right? Readers, J user, of course, it's all right. But if you put an array to the variable user here, well, TypeScript will give you a warning or give you an error. Well, actually, this is a compile time error. So you won't figure it. I mean, when you try to run your code, when you try to push to your CI server, immediately, even if you forget to write test case for this will still give you a compile time error. So you can catch the error right away. Some even more complex example is that in JavaScript, we all know that everything almost can be represented by objects. So TypeScript puts a lot of emphasis on objects. They use interface, but this like person, it defines how does the person should look like. So you can define just a plain JavaScript object here, and then define it should contain first name and last name, and then pass it to return, and then it passes the TypeScript compiler. And it also got a lot of very great tools, great features that maybe we don't have enough time to cover today. Undefined checking, decorators, namespaces, enums, generics. All these things you can find in other strong type language. It's also bringing to JavaScript. So that's why it makes JavaScript scale. The next thing I want to talk about is Redux, right? Today we want to talk about Redux in TypeScript. So Redux, if you have heard of React, or if you have some experience in Angular, maybe you have heard of this one. Basically, when we are doing the jQuery application, the very old-fashioned application, we don't really have to deal with many states. So for simple website, we don't care because we refresh the page, everything starts from a new page. If they encounter error, pop a message. Sorry, seems like we have an error. Could you reload the page? But nowadays we have so many single-page applications. We have seen single-page applications everywhere, no matter it's Airbnb, Netflix, right? You won't expect when you are browsing Netflix suddenly pop an alert. If you refresh, you will continue playing your movies, but we encounter some problem. So you want to have a very, very fine-tuned state container to make sure that the memory, the state here, for all these JavaScript apps is maintainable, is predicted. It's not quite useful for simple app. So many people trying to import Redux in their simple app, but that is not useful because Redux is really for something that's much more complicated. And I don't think we have enough time to teach how you can use Redux, but there's three simple principles. The first one is personally feel like you can imagine just like a global variable, but in a manageable way. It's a single source of truth, and there's a single source of truth to make sure that the whole single page app shares the same single state. And the state is read-only, so you can't actually modify the state. And the third one is all the changes are made with pure function. So I actually copy and paste this one. This is the very nice flow that actually explains what it is. So in your whole application, imagine that this is a view, this is your view. No matter you're using React, and I remember a few months ago, one guy in open source conference saying that you can actually using Qt with Redux. Anyway, this is a view, no matter which library you use. The whole application shares the same state. This is the single source of truth. And I'm pretty sure if you have tried to do MVC, you should be familiar with this one, the visibility field pattern tools here. So your whole state is wrapped up in one single object. And then the state is read only. You can't actually directly modify the state. You can't just say, oh, I want to push an icon into the array. I can't just say, okay, can I toggle the visibility filter? What you can do is to dispatch an action. And you can see this action is nothing fancy. There's no magic here. It's just an object. I define an object saying that, okay, I want to complete the to-do, the index is 1, I want to set visibility filter, maybe to show completed. So yeah, as simple as this. So your view will fire an event that generates an action object, and then pass it into this single store. And what the magic happens is inside the reducer here. So it's a little bit small font size. I should revise the user accessibility course again. Anyway. So here is just a pure function that takes two things. One is the current state, and the other one is the action that we previously created. And you can imagine that by taking these two parts, you can return a new state, and that new state that will be fitted to the whole view and then update the whole state of the application. So this is basically the logic of Redux. The good thing is that you don't have to worry about managing the state everywhere. Imagine that you have, say for example, the Gmail application, the mailbox application. Maybe you have to show your name in an email, maybe you want to change the name suddenly, and then you have to refresh all the names in the single page. If you do not have Redux, I'm pretty sure that you have to add an anchor and an ID to everywhere that you use your name and then update one by one. But if you're using Redux, every single view will get the information from a single state, from this single source of truth. And then it's rendered to the browser. Up till now, we are still talking about JavaScript. If you have been using Redux, there's nothing new. If you haven't been using Redux, I hope that you understand that. But we haven't used any TypeScript yet. I'm not sure whether you can notice the problem or not. There's a few problems here. Can you see this thing? Most people hate this one. This is a string literal. So if you have to define the complete to-do in the action object, you also have to define it in the reducer. And there's a chance of typos, and there's a chance that you don't know why it doesn't work, right? Maybe is it because of user, or is it because you have some typo in the code? And there's no warning here. You can't check unless you write a very good coverage test cases. And you have to remember the whole state of your Redux. Let me show you what the real application looks like. So this to-do MVC, I'm pretty sure that you can understand that. But a real Redux store looks like this. How do you remember everything? So this is from a very famous forum in Hong Kong. I'm not sure if, as a developer, you have to memorize the whole object state, right? Here, this single source of truth, you have to remember every single truth. Maybe you can say that now Hong Kong forum starts, right? Let's take a look at another famous website, Airbnb. So, very, very short. Not really. And then you can if you remember how does the console look like in the browser, here actually represent many object keys here. So I guess here's 10, 12, around 20 keys here, and then they have the sub-keys, sub-keys, and sub-keys, sub-keys, sub-keys there. Pretty sure that you can't memorize all. And if you are one of the developers working in this single page app, sooner or later you can't maintain. Sooner or later you will just forget what you have written before. So Redux is good. Actually, it is good. Because if you don't use Redux and you have such a complicated application, you may encounter even more awful problem or more awful scenario. But we still want to get rid of all these hard-coded string. We want to get rid of memorizing the state. We want to get rid of memorizing the action objects, right? The action object is also customized, right? If you're using a complete student object, you have to pass an index. If you're doing a set usability filter, you have to pass a filter. I can't remember, I still have to look at the screen. So it's tough, tough. And that's why TypeScript. Let me show you how you can do it in TypeScript. Oh, yeah, can you hear that? Still? Oh, let me hold the mic anyway. So, today I'm going to show you from nothing. Oh, nothing? Yeah, nothing. Yeah, here's the thing. From nothing to having the whole TypeScript project with Redux. You can see there's nothing here. So, start from 0. So, let's start a project. Yarn in it. And then maybe can I do a underscan? So you can see the whole screen here. Nope. Anyway. Oops. So now I have my package.json because I have init my project. The next thing I gotta do is to install the Redux. So installing Redux doesn't have any magic, doesn't give you any magic. The next thing I want to do is actually adding the TypeScript. So let me minimize it. Yeah, here you can see that. So what you have to do is just to add an additional package. It's called TypeScript. It takes a while. And then what you have to do next is to init the TypeScript project, and now you actually have a TypeScript project that you can start writing TypeScript. It doesn't involve a lot of new plugin or whatever stuff. You don't have to install anything in the system level. And what they have given to you is just one additional file called the tsconfig.json. So this tsconfig.json supports comments, and it actually defines the targets that your TypeScript file want to deploy. You can actually deploy to even lower version, ES3, ES5, ES 2015, whatever target deployment. And TypeScript actually support all the most updated syntax, including the async await, including the arrow function, things like that. And a usual practice of doing a Redux store is to create a store.ts and then start creating your store. What you can do is using the most updated syntax from TypeScript, the module syntax that is just recently supported by Node.js, and you import from Redux. And what we have to do to create a store is to, let's say we have a function called a config store. It's a good practice not to create some static object here. And then this is store and create store. And here you pass the reducer into it. First of all, we pass an empty reducer at the very beginning. And what we want to do is just to redo the to-do MVC a few action, and we create an action.ts. Usual practice in JavaScript, if you already were a React and Redux programmer, developer, and then the first thing you want to do, maybe you want to already writing the action creator to create a function that allows you to better create the action object, just like this, right? A better practice, maybe you add a namespace here to avoid name conflict amongst all these actions or reducer. So here you can see the hard code here. What TypeScript can be given to us is we can define enum called let's say called to do actions. And what we have to do is to move this one
into something like this. Sorry, it's equal sign. Yeah. And we don't need to have this one anymore. And then we just define it as an enum. So it has nothing fancy at all. You can actually use constant to do this thing. What we want to do further is to define the add to do action. We only allow the add to do action look like this. It should be an object that contains a type that must be this string, to do's, add to do, and it must contains a key test as a string. And here I must return an object called add to do actions. So it actually avoids, say for example, if you have tons of parameters here, if I accidentally remove this one, it will immediately give me a compile time error. I can't actually compile this JavaScript or TypeScript actually. And I must fulfill my return type here so that the error will be gone. Let's say we add several more action, edit or delete to do, delete to do, to do's, add to do, oh, just delete to do. And we add another action creator, delete to do, something like this. It's an index, it should be a number. It also allows you to use the most updated syntax, just like the object shorthand, things like that. And you can see, copy and paste always makes error, and I forget to change this constant, and it immediately prompt me an alert. You must fix this one. Oh, yeah, another error here. The next thing I want to do is to do the reducer. I have finished doing my action here, and then it's time to do a reducer. To do the reducer, again, I will add functions, and then accept two things, the old state and the incoming action. And this is the stage. It is good practice if you can assign an initial state and action. You can see it immediately alerts you that, hey, initial state is not defined, cannot find a name. Yeah, that's my fault. So I have to define it. And maybe have a to-dos as an array within this state. And then the action here, I have to define the type of action. Basically, it is referred to the action that I defined in the action.ts. And it's a good practice to export it. And now, if I have exported that to action there, I can actually using the auto-completion provided by Visual Studio Code to automatically import for me. Or I accept either delete or add. So it automatically helps me to complete the import statement. I don't have to type it myself because we are now using a more or less like a strong type language, so the static type language. So that's why the Visual Studio Code know that I'm referring exactly to this add to do action. The next powerful thing is something like the typecasting. If I switch the action.type, so here you can imagine imagine that there's only two types is allowed. One is the to do action.add to do. To add a to do, we can do something like this: state.todos.push. No, if you are using Redux, you must know that state.todo is an immutable object. But sometimes when you work very lately, you are not, having a full focus enough. You may write something like this. So what TypeScript can help is that we actually also define how this reducer stage looks like. This is the to-do state. Inside this to-do state, well, we must contain the keys called to-dos. And this to-do is a read-only array which contains of to-do. And we also have to define to-do. A better practice, of course, you make another models.ts to save all this information. But for simplicity reason, I just make it together. So here, if I put something like this, and then I define that initial state actually is a to-do state. You can see that it even tells me that push should not be used here. If I define these to-dos as a read-only array, the TypeScript will tell me that, no, please do not use push here. If you really have to add something new into it, maybe I have to use something like state.todo. Well, you can see there's an auto completion here for me, and then it should be concat, and I should add a new object here. You can see that when I start opening my curly brace, it's already noticed that I'm not passing a valid to-do object. What I have to do is to make it as a complete to-do object. And you can see that action here. The powerful thing is that since I have a checking here, that I clearly know that this action must be an add to-do action. And there won't be any index here. So this auto-completion is quite intelligent. It won't throw me any keywords that I have used. It will only throw me the keywords that relevant to this to add to the action. So here is add test. What needs is the ID. Maybe it's the to-dos.reduce to-do. Maximum ID to-do. Maps.maps. Maximum ID to-do dot ID, of course. -1. +1. Yeah, then the first one must be 0, I guess. And well, why not we finish the rest? Did the action, and pretty sure this is to do, state.todos.filter, to do when the to-do.id is not equal to the action.index. Yeah, we don't have to memorize it. The auto-completion tell me what inside the action objects. So we're back to the store.ts here. It's time to combine everything together. So let's make a root reducer. And I will use the combine reducer together. Again, because the Redux, the TypeScript provide the definition of the Redux, and the Visual Studio Code knows that the combine reducer is come from that package. I don't have to type the import statement again. And this will be to-dos, the to-dos from the reducers. It's a good way that you also define the root state. So the root state, because the combine reducer here, if I define like this way, there will be a to-dos key here. So it's to-dos. It looks like what? It looks like the to-do state. And then I'm done. Just pass the root reducer. How do I know I finished my project? Of course, we need some test cases. Sorry, I didn't do the TDD, but now I have to install the jest. So I just have to add the jest. And jest is not natively supporting TypeScript, so there's an additional package called the tsjest. Is my phone working? Yeah. Well, Yarn is already slightly faster than NPM nowadays, so it's T. Oh, back to JS. Hopefully it could be done in a few minutes. Come on. Let's start writing the test case first then. We don't have to wait, right? So it, of course, should create an empty store. And you can see that it already giving me some warning because the Visual Studio Code know that I haven't installed any jest. But I don't care. Let's do our thing first. So what we want to do is to create a store. So config store here, and the store.getState, it should return me, oops, I didn't return the store, that's why. Return the store, and expect me, you can see that there's the type hinting here. You can see that the store will actually have a getState action and returning an object look like this. So I can always have the hints here, and it would be to equal. So let's say it did expect the state, and I can also revert back to the root state, so it can help me to finish my code completion. So somehow you might forgot that inside the to-do stage we have an inner object. If you pass it here, oh, it's not directly an array. It should be another level of to-dos. So this is the expected state. It also allows you to create another add object here, create add to do, and then we store.dispatch, and we use as to do, And this is the to-do, finish the presentation, or install the Jest, please. And what we can expect is here, you start giving me a warning again because I really have to finish and complete object here. Yeah, it takes years to install. Oh, there's a trouble with my network connection. Right, anyway, hopefully I can show you after a few seconds. Right, so please trust me, this test case really works. Hopefully when you asking me question and after we come back here. So in summary, combining Redux with TypeScript, even the Google slide and have a network connection. Anyway, so combining the Redux with TypeScript gives you the type-safe action. It gives you also the immutable checking. So I'm not sure whether you have any experience accidentally modifying the state and then you run into the error because Redux really doesn't like you changing the state directly. And it provides checking the compile time. It also has a root state code completion so that even if you have a very, very huge state, you don't have to worry about memorizing everything. Testable, yeah, I can't show you yet, but trust me, it's really testable and it's as simple as just testing your JavaScript files. And really lots more good things from TypeScript. And we haven't touched React yet. We just show you how to do it with Redux. If you want to combine it with React and Redux, it's even providing more and more good things like checking the props, checking the state, things like that. And that's all my presentation today. We are very new coding bootcamp. We're still looking for more talks. Of course, we're looking for students and probably employees in the future. And thank you very much.